love the energy in here. I'm impressed because I know you guys have been in all these sessions and we're coming up on the closing part of it. And so your minds are full of mush at this point. You've got so much knowledge and you're coming in here to see me. And guys, I want to tell you, I am coming in hot today with some data about productivity. So hope you have your notes ready. We're going to crush it out. And I want to ask a question, quick show of hands. How many people in the room have worked a super long, like we're talking like a 12-hour day, you're exhausted, you're tired, and you look back over the day and you're like, what did I actually do? All right, more than half. Cool. I feel like I'm in good company. I have done that, and actually, just to be honest, I did that for a number of years, and it was very, very costly for me and my company. It cost me my sanity. It cost me many sleepless nights. It cost me a lot of productivity, a lot of growth opportunity, and it almost cost me my entire business. And so I want to talk about that. But before I do, I want to ask another parallel question. How many of you guys get excited about the idea of growth? Woo! Yeah! Okay, cool. Anybody who didn't raise your hand, you're a liar. Okay, I don't understand why you're in business. We're all here to grow personally, professionally. We want to grow our numbers. We want to grow our bottom line. I think a few people in the room probably want to grow their income, right? Cool. So I want to say this, 200 to 400% growth year over year, multiple years in a row, probably sounds pretty awesome, doesn't it? Until it's choking the life out of you. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to tell you, this is exactly the experience I had in my life. I literally was drowning constantly in my work, and it almost cost me everything. But I figured out a system. I'm excited to share that system with you guys today. And before we leave, here's my promise to you guys. You'll first of all have 5 quick fixes that will fix some of your productivity today. You'll get 3 systems you can start implementing to improve your systems today. And then finally, you'll have 1 that you can literally implement right now before you leave that will dramatically improve how quickly you get results in your life. So let's get to work. A little backstory about me. My name is Broc. I'm the owner and CEO of Elevate Entertainment out of the Midwest, one of the most successful companies in the Midwest. I got some of my crew here. You guys are awesome. And from 2018 to 2022, we experienced between 200 and 400% growth year over year for 4 straight years. It was incredible. Some people might call it meteoric. And even in the 5th year, it was double-digit growth. So we flew past the 7-digit line and quickly moved into doing above 800 events a year as a company. And then also turned around and we had launched or we're managing 5 different brands at the same time. Sounds pretty awesome, doesn't it? Yeah, except on the inside, what you didn't get to see was I was suffering miserably. I was working 60 to 80-hour work weeks, nearly constantly putting out fires, chasing down issues, making sure nothing fell through the cracks. It was literally exhausting for me, terrible. And it cost me everything. It actually was part of what ended up costing me a marriage. So the cost was very real. And at some point, I almost threw in the towel with this. In fact, I ended up taking an extended vacation, about a month off. And that was the moment I was going to decide whether or not to shut down my business or not, because it was so exhausting for me. So with that in mind, I want to say this. I realize that you can have external success, the success that everybody says you're supposed to have, right? And yet, lay your head on your pillow at night and still internally be deeply miserable and dissatisfied. And I don't want that for you. And part of the reason that was a struggle for me was because I was working literally constantly. And the answer to this problem wasn't more work or more hours. The answer to this problem was a new mindset and better self-management techniques. So I'm going to teach you guys all those things today. And really quick, before we move forward, I want to ask us to do a little bit of a live self-score. I just realized I've not been clicking through my slides. I apologize, guys. There's my team out of the Midwest. Yo. All right, let's do a live self-score. Really quick, I want you to take out a notepad or notes on your phone or laptop or whatever, and we're going to number it 1 to 10, and I want you to score yourself based on this. I'm going to say a sentence, and if you agree, rarely put 0, sometimes put 1, and often put 2. Here we go. I quick check my phone during focus times. I have a habit of checking my phone during focus times. Rarely, sometimes, or often. Put 0, 1, or 2. The next one, I feel stressed most days. The next one, I tend to multitask. That means I'm checking my emails while I'm receiving texts, while I'm working on this focus thing, while I'm cooking dinner for my kids. The next one, this is number 4, I'm in meetings that don't really need me. Number 5, my workspace is cluttered or noisy. Number 6, I start days without a clear, non-negotiable outcome. Number 7, I let urgent issues push out important issues. Number 8, I don't time block creative time versus admin time. Number 9, I postpone hard tasks until I feel motivated. I will do this till I'm blue in the face. All right, number 10, I end the day without a shutdown ritual. All right, really quick, once you got those, go ahead and just tally them up, and I want you to circle them there at the bottom. And we're going to keep that handy because we're going to go over the results here at the end of this presentation. I want to talk about what each of those means. I'm going to have a little bit of advice directly for you, but go ahead and tally them up and circle them. Before we move forward, I want to talk about the 5 productivity killers in the workspace and how they could be affecting you. And by the way, you may want to take notes on if this is affecting you. The first one can cost you up to 26 productive workdays per year. 26 productive workdays per year. Anybody know what it is?
Bathroom.
Somebody said it. Doom scrolling. Doom scrolling your life away. Doom scrolling your life away. Let me tell you something. Picture this. You're working on a wedding gallery. Bing. You get a text from another vendor. You pick it up. You want to answer it. And just as you do, you get another notification. That next notification is from Instagram. That red bubble is kicking your butt right now. You have to know. You click on it. You open. You check it. And suddenly, you're watching a 10-minute video on why flamingos are pink. The answer, by the way, is it's what they eat. So that's the answer. Not that I've ever done that. So suddenly you are 20 minutes deep away from your work, just like that. The American Business Daily News reports that employees on average spend 2 hours per day on personal phone distractions during workplace time. 2 hours per day. You tally that up. Let me tell you what that equals. 26 work days per year. That's an entire month. So I want to ask a question. How many in the room get really excited about paying an employee for an entire month of work without receiving any outcomes? Anybody get excited for that? Cool. If you're doing that yourself, that's what you're doing. You're robbing your business of 26 days worth of output just to watch that pink flamingo video, right? So I want to challenge you to that. Doom scrolling is a real issue in our culture, in our society, and in our workplace. And I want to take a little tangent. You might hate me after this one. I love you, but you might hate me. Rabbit holes are the same thing. I know it might not be on Instagram, but if you're going down a rabbit hole, that's usually information you don't really need at that moment. That's information you may need sometime down the road, so it's directly irrelevant to the thing that you're doing, and therefore it is another form of doom scrolling. So I want to give you a couple of tricks that you can employ to get out of doom scrolling really quick. First one, use the phone in the drawer strategy. Put it in the drawer, put it down. You know what? You can go 25 minutes without checking your phone. I promise. It's going to be okay. You can go 50 minutes without checking your phone. I promise. It's okay. Cell phones just arrived on the scene, a little more than 20 years ago. And before that, we were fine. We did okay, okay? So put it down, put it away. It's going to be good for you. I promise. Additionally, app gating. If you have to have your phone handy, put an app gate in the place, right? So about a year ago, I took Facebook and Instagram off of my home screen on my iPhone. Ooh. I put it away. And you know what? It has caused me to be able to save tons of time because I don't see those notifications. I don't see the red bubble. I don't see any of that. So I don't immediately just check on it and put myself in a position where I'm going down the rabbit hole yet again. There are also tools out there that will help you with this. There's an app called Opal that will help gate those apps. You can only spend like 20 minutes a day. on the app as a whole. It'll gate those for you. Screen time is another one. And then there's one that's cross-platform called freedom.to. Use those to your advantage if you need to. And then finally, the 3-minute timer. Look, sometimes it happens. You pick up the phone, suddenly I'm doom scrolling. Once you realize it, I want you to practice setting a 3-minute timer for yourself. Immediately open the timer, set an alarm, 3 minutes, and give yourself that 3 minutes to scroll. It's okay. Scroll, check it out, do the things you need to do, but the second that 3-minute timer goes off, close it all out, put the phone down, put it away. I don't want you to pick it up for the next 30 minutes. That's the 3-minute timer. You guys think you can handle that? Everybody's giving me dirty looks right now. Come on, guys. It's all good. I'm trying to help you. All right, next productivity killer, stressing yourself to a standstill. Stressing yourself to a standstill. On this one, see, stress tends to narrow your thinking and it actually causes you to really make decisions very poorly. And so it's not just a bad vibe, it's actually a productivity vampire. The workplace stress study shows that lots of stress or very high stress can actually reduce your productivity by 35%. 35%. That's actually worse than doom scrolling, believe it or not. 35% would be a little bit above 2 hours. So in this case, stress becomes really important. And I want to say this. I do a lot of leadership and business coaching with CEOs and business owners. And one thing that I've realized is stress has a lot more to do with what you think. It's not, sometimes the circumstances are stressful, right? Like you got to hit that deadline. That's a little stressful. But a lot of times it has more to do with what you think about the outcomes. You're afraid that it's not going to work out. You're afraid it's going to fail. You're afraid you're not going to hit your budget. Those types of things. That creates more stress. And so a lot of times I teach the people that I'm working with to work with mindset issues. And so this is a great way to reset your stress levels. If you're feeling stressed, you're struggling to move forward, I want you to take a 3-minute reset. You'll notice I really like the number 3. I use it a lot here. So 3-minute reset. And that's where you're going to take 3 minutes. And first of all, I want you to practice a little breathing. Deep breath. Do a little box breathing. Anybody know what box breathing is? Okay, 5 people. Cool. That's 6 in, 6 hold, 6 out, 6 hold. Over and over again. Okay, so that's box breathing. And take a deep breath. Go for a walk. When you're on that walk, don't think about what you're stressed about. Think about something else. Think about what you're grateful for in life. And think about the future you're creating for yourself. Or meditation. I'm a big advocate of meditation. Huge advocate because it's teaching you to control the stream of thoughts in your mind. That's the 3-minute reset and can help recenter you so that you don't stall out on your productivity. Another one, capacity calendar. Us high performers in the room love loading our calendar. Love it. I am notorious for it. I'm going to show you a picture of my calendar here in a second, and some of you guys are going to throw up. The problem is, not everything goes perfectly, right? Things go wrong. The meeting goes a little long. The thing you're working on was a little more complicated than you thought. You get a flat tire. Things happen, right? And so include buffer in your calendar. Buffer for rest, buffer for a deep breath, buffer for lunch. I used to not even put lunch in. I was terrible about that. Buffer for you to breathe. You're still human, okay? So take care of yourself. In fact, a really great reframed thought that once was said to me that I really love is that it's healthier for us to live from rest instead of to it. In other words, many people are living for the weekend. You guys ever heard that phrase, right? Living for the weekend. In other words, we work our tail off all week just so we can have the weekend. Not in here. We're all, wedding people, so weekends when we work the most. But the point here is that instead of working for the weekend to where you're just looking to get rest, you're working from overflow. I rest first, and then I work from overflow. It's a much healthier approach to life. And then finally, if you're just experiencing a whole state of stress, you're in like a period of stress in your life, this one-line journal is really powerful. Every day I want you to wake up, first thing I want you to do when you start to work is I want you to write down the one outcome that will make today a win. The one outcome that will make today a win for you. And focus on doing that one thing. In stressful situations, making productive moves is how you counterbalance the stress that's in your life. Don't let stress rob you of your productivity. The third one, this one should sound very familiar. Raise your hand if you've done this one. Multitasking like a maniac. Only 3, 4, 5. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. I was going to say, I'm pretty notorious for this one myself. I've had to really train myself away from this one. So I'm going to call this context switching. You're going to know why here in a second, but it's an invisible tax. It takes a mental debt. It's really a trick because you think you're being more productive and you're actually not. It's the opposite. You're being less productive. The American Psychological Association reports that consistent context switching can reduce your productivity by up to 40%. 40%. And that is a huge number. That's actually the worst one on the list. 40%. That's almost half of your productivity capability from multitasking. Anybody feel guilty right now? I feel a little guilty. Current neurological and behavioral studies show that context switching, your brain can actually only really focus on one thing at a time. So what we call multitasking is actually just rapid task switching. Our mind is, okay, great example here is driving while texting. We all know this is bad, right? Nobody in this room has ever done that, right? And the reason this is bad is because you're driving. While you're driving, you're focused on the road, you're focused on what's coming at you, it's good. And you look over your phone, and now you're focused on what's on your phone. And you're not driving anymore, you're coasting. You're just hoping nothing goes wrong in front of you. Now, even if it's for 2 seconds, that's still coasting for 2 seconds, and if something goes wrong in that 2 seconds, you got a big problem, right? And so that's the perfect example of your mind can actually only focus on one thing at a time. And so with that in mind, a great example of people trying to multitask and be successful is running down the field at a football game. If you're the wide receiver, you catch the ball, goal is you want to hit the end zone, right? You want to score the points, you want to score the goal unit, right? You want to win, right? And so the thing that you're going to do is run downfield. But if you're multitasking, it's like you're running downfield, but going right and left over and over and over and over and over and over. And you might make it down the field a little bit at a time, but it's going to take you a whole lot longer to get to the goal line. And in the process, you're going to be way more exhausted because you burned way, way more energy to get to the goal line. It's way healthier to just run straight to the goal. Would everybody agree? Yeah. Anybody disagree? Good. I was going to tell you to leave, so I'm glad. We're all on the same page here. So it's good. So some fixes for this to make sure that you are as successful as possible. Single thread sprints. I call these focus blocks. Focus blocks. 50 minutes. If it's a heavy-duty task or it's something that's deeper work, 50 minutes. Phone is down, nobody distracts me, I don't take calls, you can't bother me, 50 minutes of work. And then take a 10-minute break. Take a 10-minute break. And that says 10 minutes for smaller tasks. That's not correct. Just take a 10-minute break. If it's more of an administrative thing, maybe you're checking emails or that type of thing, 25 minutes. Do 25 and 5. That's a better strategy. Those focus sprints are going to get more done and more effectively than any type of multitasking you could do. The next one, notifications, stop them. Do not disturb is your best friend. I use the reduce interruptions feature a lot on iPhone. It came out about 4 months ago. Really love it because it uses some AI to try to determine which notifications you really need to know, and then it'll also quickly summarize them so I can just quickly understand if that's something that really needs my attention or not. Really great feature. I even go so far as removing the notifications bar on my screen on my computer because there's little things that pop up and distract you. Focus. We want to focus. We do not want to multitask. We don't want anything distracting us. And then finally, tab discipline. So Google Chrome, if you're a Google Chrome user, came out with a feature called tab groups about 4 months ago. Phenomenal. Yes, phenomenal. You can put all the things that you're working on in a particular project into one group. And so when you open it, it will open all those tabs relevant to that. This is much better because if you've got all your tabs open, and let's say you're working on, when I was writing this speech, for example, I was writing this speech, and if I had another tab that had the ability to do a notification on it, it would have totally distracted me, right? And so instead, just the things that you're focused on, make that the full window, nothing else, no distractions. I'm geared on one thing and one thing only for this focus block. That's going to be more powerful. Again, multitasking is a 40% thief in the office. Finally, actually 2 more. Productivity killer number 4, drowning in pointless meetings. Anybody feel this one? Yeah, lots of meetings. 47% of employees report that meetings are the biggest workplace time waster. That's salary.com poll. Almost 50%. Mark Cuban, Jeff Bezos, Sheryl Sandberg, even Steve Jobs, all had really unique approaches to meetings, and Mark Cuban actually won't even have them. He's that rigid about it. because they all knew one thing: meetings can be a massive drag on your productivity. And so you need to be very disciplined with your meetings. And so, a couple of strategies for these. 1-3-1 rule. If you're going to have a meeting, have a 1-3-1 rule. That's 1 problem, 3 suggestions, and 1 recommendation. When you have that meeting, you get to the answer as quickly as possible, and you wrap that meeting. We're done. The 1-3-1 rule. 1 problem, we're going to solve it. Every person needs to come in with 3 suggestions and 1 recommendation. Boom, we're done. That's the 1-3-1 rule. Gets you very, very focused on your meeting. Agenda or async. I like this one because if your meeting doesn't have an agenda, don't have that meeting. There's no point in that meeting. So don't have that meeting. We're not having meetings just to talk things out. You guys should come prepared to your meetings, having thought things out already, right? So if there's no agenda, don't have it. And then finally, bonus. This one's a toughie. This one's really tough, but this is for my high performance in the audience. I wanted to give you one. Default your meetings to only 15 minutes. In other words, you only block 15 minutes for a meeting. They have to get it done in 15 minutes. You want to talk about pressure to get the things on the table that you need to talked about and out of the room as quickly as possible. That's going to add that. And you work your way up as you see that you're more disciplined with your meetings. You can work your way back up to 30 minutes, an hour, etc. But I recommend trying this out. Try to default your meetings to 15 minutes to force the card of getting as much done in that meeting as possible. All right, the final workplace killer, productivity killer, is working in a chaotic space. Working in a chaotic space. Messy workspaces equal messy minds. Noisy workspaces equal noisy minds. So those 2 things together equal cognitive drag, equal complete lack of ability to be as productive as possible. In fact, statistics show that this can affect you up to 20%. 20%. And so making sure that you have a clean, tidy, well-lit, not noisy workplace is critical for you to be able to be as focused and productive as possible with the time that you have to work with. Here are some strategies to pull that down. 1, the setup. So I travel a lot, and I'm going to guess most of the people in the room probably work from home or in some way, shape, or form. So the setup of where you are is really important. Clean desk, really tidy, good lighting. I like to, if I'm traveling, I actually go through and pick the hotel based on pictures of the room because that's really important to me in terms of my focus. I try to pick a place that's real clean, modern, good lighting. It's usually I like to have a view. And then I'm going to have my headphones, right? I'm going to have my noise-canceling headphones so nothing's distracting me. I can be critically focused on the thing that I want to get done. Now, that's not good for everyone. So here's another one, the 2-zone desk. You work from home. I do this. You have a zone that is for creativity. Creativity is usually very messy, right? It's an art, creativity is. And then you have a zone that's more for admin and focus tasks. The focus task side, that's going to be clean, it's going to be tidy, nothing distracting you. The creative side, that's totally different. In my house, I have 2 of those raised lift desks that are back to back. One side is the creative side, the other side is the work side. And that helps me stay very focused on what I'm doing at any given moment. And finally, and this is a really good one. Does anybody in the room have a shutdown ritual? Like 3 people. Okay, awesome. Shutdown ritual. This one is really, really good. At the end of the day, I want you to clean your desk, turn off your lights, close your tabs, and shut your computer. And maybe take a second to write down the thing you want to accomplish the next day too. But I want you to shut. It tells yourself, I'm done. I'm checked out. I'm finished. I don't have to do this anymore. Does that make sense? That shutdown ritual can be very, very powerful. So these are the productivity killers in the workspace. I want to share, it's not enough though to share just the things that can take you away from success. I want to give you frameworks for success. And so in order to do that, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about defining productivity. I didn't have a slide for that. So defining productivity. We've been talking about this word a lot, and this word doesn't always make a lot of sense to everybody, so we're going to create a definition. How many think that being busy is productive? Good. You guys are pros in the room. Busyness is not productivity. Busyness is not productivity. Here's a better definition. Productivity is the pursuit of meaningful impact through focused action, not endless activity. And I can prove it. How many in the room would rather work an 8-hour day with essentially no results versus a 1-hour day with tons of results? Right? Easy. We all understand that. If we were hiring employees, we would think like this, right? When I hire my employees, I think like this, right? Like, who's going to get me the most results in the least amount of time? Because that is productivity. And you heard me say the word. The best measurement of productivity is this word, results. Write it down. Results. This is how you know you're hitting productivity. And that's a little tough. That definition's a little salty for some people because it's not always linear, right? But productivity is directly related to results. You can hire people, you can hire a sales manager to do sales, and that person can work 40 hours a week and not get you much in the way of results. You're probably not going to be very excited about that person compared to the person who works 2 hours a week and gets you tons of blazing sales. Am I correct? You probably pay the person 2 hours a week who's working only 2 hours a week for a 40-hour week just because he's getting you more sales. Am I correct about that? Yes. And so we know how this works. I do want to make sure just to draw it out because we're applying it to self, and everything gets messy when we talk about ourselves. Speaking of which, the next thing that tends to get in the way the most for people is a mindset issue. So I do a lot of leadership coaching, as I mentioned, and with the business owners that I usually work with, one of the biggest issues is how they think about themselves and about their business. That's the one thing that tends to hold most people back. The same is true for productivity. If you are not paying attention to the way you think about your work, it will absolutely crush you. Here are some examples. Imposter syndrome, fear of failure, perfectionism, lack of self-awareness, or a poor relationship with work. They can all cause people to stall, avoid, resist, or fake productivity. I'm going to give you some real-world examples. A great first one. Busy equals productive. I'm really proud of you guys because you all knew the answer to this one. But sometimes we believe things even if we won't admit we believe things. Busy equals productive. And the best way to know if you believe it is if it's playing out in your work, right? If you're doing it, if you're functionally doing it. A better thought process, if you want to create a narrative that gets you better results, here it is. Results are better than busyness. Results are better than business. If you believe the second one, you're going to be way more powerful. That was kind of a gimme. I just wanted to give a simple one. Let's do a little more complicated one. Here's for my perfectionists in the room. Any perfectionists in the room? Yeah. Well, wow, like 50% of you guys. Impressive. Recovering perfectionist here too. I really believe that everything I put out in the world had to be perfect. And you know what? What's cool about being a perfectionist? You do put out really cool things, right? Like when you put it out, it's freaking awesome. The problem is nobody talks about the suffering that most perfectionists have in the meantime, because they're struggling with this thing. I want to put it out in the world, but it's not perfect yet. I want to put it out in the world, and they suffer in silence, in cycles over and over again. That's not healthy. So instead of it has to be perfect, let's buy a different thought. Here's the different thought. Version 1.0 is better than version 9.0. Version 1.0, I'm getting claps in the back. I love you, man. That's awesome. Version 1.0 is better than 9.0. If you believe that, you're going to start putting things out in the world, whether or not they're perfect or not. And you know what? Most of the biggest businesses in the world were not awesome to begin with, okay? So Netflix started as a mail-in DVD company. Now look what it is, right? Amazon was an online bookstore. Now look at it. Facebook is still a total mess. And we still use it. Well, they're on version 800, and it's still garbage, but it works, right? So let's put that out there. All right, here's another one. This one's sneaky. This is for my people who are afraid of failure. If I fail, then I'm a failure. If I have a task, a project I need to work on, and I fail at that project, then that makes me a failure. That one's tough because guess what you're going to do? You're going to hide. You're going to hide from that. And if you do, you won't get anywhere on that project. So here's a replacement thought. If I learn, I win. And failure is just a way to learn, right? If I learn, I win. I grew if I learn. So even if I fail, it's nothing but data. I can pick up the pieces. I can do it better the next time. Does that make sense? Be aware of your mindset. Check yourself. If you see yourself stalling, resisting, avoiding, or faking productivity, that is the very biggest flag. That's like waving a huge red flag. Hey, something's going wrong. I'm not thinking about this in a very healthy way. I need to process what I'm thinking about here. For me, I actually had a really serious rescuer complex. It was a real problem for me. I had this belief that I needed to make sure nothing fell through the cracks. That was a belief I bought into. Can you hear all the problems with that already? I'm literally going to be running around chasing, like whack-a-mole, chasing all the flames, all the fires, all the issues, et cetera, et cetera. And that's exactly the experience I was having. I was constantly chasing all the issues in my business. It was absolutely destroying me in every sense of the term. And good examples here. I was solving problems while I was on vacation. Anybody done that? I was answering emails at midnight. Anybody done that? I was texting solutions to other teammates while I myself am performing at a show. That one was really disappointing for me. I really should not have done that. And all of that was sucking the life out of me. So I had to replace it with a different thought. And this took a little bit of work. I had to become aware of it. But the thought I replaced it with was, I hire rock star teammates who can carry their weight and solve the problems that are theirs to solve. And don't get me wrong, every once in a while I'd hire somebody and they didn't solve the problem, and I had to let them fall and pick it back up. And I had to hold them accountable to that. And that was tough. That was a different type of blessing because rescuer tendencies were there for me. But this is how I set boundaries and get healthier so I can be more productive in my life. Does that make sense? Cool. Once you've worked through the mindset issues, now we start building systems in place. So I call this planning to succeed. These are 3 simple systems. You're going to want to write these down. You implement these. I promise you they're going to move you down the path very quickly. Here we go. First one. First one is start a daily startup routine. Start a daily startup routine. I used to walk into work, and the very first thing I would do is have a meeting. I mean, I would literally walk right in the door to the meeting. Or I'd walk in, sit down, and the first thing I'd do is open my email. Anybody ever do that? Guilty of that? Worst thing you could do. Suddenly, then it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been working, but I don't even know what I got done. And I look back, and I'm like, I really didn't do the things that really needed to be done. So I resolve at 4 p.m., okay, well, I'll just try again the next day. And then what do? I wake up, and the first thing I do, go straight into a meeting, right? And repeat the process over and over again. This is a really poor cycle. This will crush your productivity in every sense of the term. It will crush your business and your business growth opportunities. So first thing I want you to do, schedule it on your calendar right now. If your start time, my start time is 10 a.m. every day. If your start time is 10 a.m., I want you to write in a 15 to 20 minute block that is for you and you alone. You do not open the phone. You do not open the email. The thing that you do is sit down and think, what does today need to look like? I'm going to define the top 3 outcomes for my day. And yes, by outcomes, I definitely mean the word results, not busyness, not projects, results. What am I going to get done today? And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to block them on your calendar. And here's why you're going to do that. Because if you don't block them on your calendar at 6 p.m. after you've been busy all day doing all these other things, you're going to look and you go, oh, shoot, I haven't done my 3 outcomes yet. And you're going to either feel like a failure or you're going to do what I do, and that's like, well, I got to work another 3 hours to get this done. And suddenly I'm working at 9 p.m., right? Don't do that. Put them on your calendar now. They are the first things to do. They are the first things to do. And then, even if you don't do that, this last one is a gold mine. I really want you to put this one down, circle it big. Even if you don't do 3 outcomes, pick 1 non-negotiable per day. 1 non-negotiable outcome you're going to achieve per day, no matter what. I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that thing. And I'm going to give you 2 pieces of advice about this. 1, it needs to be definable as to completion. So in other words, don't say, I'm going to clean out my emails, because that's not definable, right? Say, I'm going to get my inbox to 0. That's definable. You know when you completed that task. So give it clarity as to being completed. And then the second thing, I really encourage it to be something that actually moves you forward to your goals as a business, right? So don't say, for example, I need to run payroll. That's a daily, right? Like that's a business thing that a business has to do to get done. Instead, do one like, I need to revise my pricing structures for 2026. That's going to move you forward, and that could be a net revenue generator for you. So make sure that whatever that non-negotiable is, it pushes you or your department forward for your company. Does that make sense? Cool. One of the other ones, time blocking and Pomodoro. How many in the room time block? Less than I thought. Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. So time blocking is critical. I live and die by my calendar. You want to know where I am? Look at my calendar. That's the answer here. This helps me prioritize better. Instead of just having a funnel of things just flying at me at 900 miles an hour that I don't really have any control over, I time block. What does that mean? Every task gets assigned a priority. We'll talk about that in a second. And then from that priority gets plugged into my calendar. If I get a task like Let's use the example I just did. Create a new pricing structure for 2026. Okay, that's going to take me 1 hour, no, 2 hours. We'll call it 2 hours. I'm going to take that 2 hours and I'm going to put it in my calendar at a set time. And that is my meeting, if you will. Nothing gets in the way of that time. That is what I do during that time, no matter what. Again, if it's deep work, kind of like that project, I recommend a 50-10 split. And if it's more like administrative, sort of basic stuff, I recommend a 25-5 split on your time. 50 minutes of deep, 10 minutes of break. That's called Pomodoro technique. And by the way, you can use, there are apps out there that do Pomodoro timers that will help keep you accountable to that are super, super helpful. This time blocking is literally so critical to success. Best strategy is also if you can batch similar tasks due to their sort of format. So for example, if it's a creative task and you've got a couple other ones, try to do your creative tasks all together. Or if it's administrative, try to do your administrative tasks all together so that they're blocked together and your mind works the same way. Here is time blocking. I'm sorry in advance. This is what my calendar looks like. You can see I literally plug in, I don't know if this has a beam on it or not, but you can see up the top I plug in yellow my morning routine is in there. I plug in meditation, I plug in my check-ins with different team members, and then I plug in different focus times. That gives me buffer, and then I plug in any of my tasks inside of that once again. This helps you make sure you're working on the things that are most important instead of just flowing along and whatever kind of comes your way. Does that make sense? No? Cool. At the end of this, there's a QR code, and on the QR code, I actually have a video that will teach you how to do this most effectively. It's a little bit longer. I couldn't fit it into my 30-minute block here, so there's a video ready for you at the end of this video, or at the end of this presentation. Final system. Here we go. Weekly CEO hour. This is like being your own boss right here. You're gonna set this out for an hour. I do this on Fridays. I like to sit down and I like to review my outcomes. How did I do? I was busy for 80 hours a week and I only have one really big outcome to show for it. That's a really bad sign. That does not speak well for my productivity, right? If I set a goal to hit 12 deliverables and I hit all 12 deliverables, that's a really good sign, right? This is sort of like you choosing to manage yourself, right? This is why we call it CEO hour. This also gives you an opportunity to take a look at all your tasks and reprioritize them because priorities shift. Things change. You do need to shift your priorities on a regular basis. And I'm going to talk about that here in about 2 minutes, so be ready for that. And then finally, you can schedule your top through revenue or retention moves for the next week right there on your weekly CEO hour. Like I said, I do mine on Fridays, helps me set up for the next week, helps me feel like I'm walking into the next week confident and ready to go. It also helps me evaluate myself for my own productivity and hold myself accountable. This is an easy system that you can implement right away to be much more effective. All right, we're going to talk about prioritization right now, and this, by the way, probably the most important piece and also the most difficult piece is prioritization. But before we do, a little bonus. Absolutely be sure that you are not keeping any tasks in your head. This is called brain dumping, is what it's called. And it is the worst thing you can do. A task comes your way and you're like, oh, I'll do that in a couple minutes. And then you hold it. And then another task comes your way and you're like, I'm going to do that tomorrow. And then you hold it. And then another one, and then you hold it. And guess what's happening? Capacity from your brain is literally melting away. Suddenly, you've got 20 or 30% of the capacity of your brain focused on just holding when it's completely unnecessary. Write it down. I make a quick decision when a new task comes my way. I decide, am I going to do it right now? If I'm going to do it right now, I just go do it. If I'm not going to do it right now, it goes on my task list. I use motion. We're going to talk about that in a second. I use motion. I hit the plus button. I add it. Done. I don't need to think about it anymore. This was actually a big part of what was causing me a lot of sleepless nights back when I was really unhealthy with my productivity. I was notorious for at night I would be laying there trying to think of all the things I need to not forget to do, which was really respectfully kind of dumb. I learned at night what I do is I sit down and I take 5 minutes and I write out any tasks that are in my head. I just put them down. That way I don't think about them. Even ideas, even if they're ideas, I write them down. And that way they're all out of my brain and I can focus on being present and resting, or if I'm focusing on a task, I can be focused on that task or focused on that meeting. I don't have to carry the weight of holding that task in my mind. Do not waste your brain space on this. Use task management. I'm personally a big proponent of motion. You can also use Asana, Trello. There's a lot of other ones. My least favorite is on paper, and I'll talk about why here in a second. This is why, prioritization. Sheryl Sandberg called one of the keys to meteoric growth. Does anybody know who Sheryl Sandberg is? Okay, cool. She's a COO, Chief Operations Officer for Meta. She was with Zuckerberg for, I don't know, it was like 15 years, from Facebook's inception all the way up until about 2 years ago when she finally resigned to go on to other things. She was the critical element that made Meta what it is today. And when asked what her success was, she said, the greatest piece of advice I can give for somebody to be successful is ruthless prioritization. Ruthless prioritization. There will be a million things come your way, and think about Facebook, how many things probably come her way all the time. Literally hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands. And she has to choose to prioritize what is the most important thing every single second for me to be working on. If you can choose that carefully, you can be really, really powerful. So I'm going to give you a simple way to prioritize your life and prioritize the tasks in your life. It really comes down to 2 questions. Make it easy for yourself. The questions are, is it important? And I like to define this one a little bit more, and I like to say, is it important for me to do it? That's a little bit more clarification on that one. Is it important for me to do it? And then the second question is it urgent? Is it urgent? In other words, does it need relatively immediate attention? If you answer these 2 questions, you will immediately start divining a very clear structure. This is called the priority matrix, or sometimes also called the Eisenhower matrix, for prioritization. First box, if it is both important and urgent, this is something you do first. This is your highest priority. Here's a great example. A client's venue just canceled 3 weeks out. You want to handle that, right? Like, that's pretty urgent. This client is going to be freaking out. You are going to need to give that pretty important attention, a pretty urgent attention, and it's a very important thing. So that's something you do now. If it's not urgent, but it's still important, you do it later. Schedule it, right? Okay, I don't really need that for 3 weeks. I'm going to plug that in my calendar for 3 weeks later. Boom, just like that. Or actually, personally, if it was 3 weeks out, I would do 2 weeks out, so I have a little buffer again. Great example of this. Developing your 2026 pricing strategy. Maybe you don't need it immediately. Maybe you don't need it till the beginning of January. Cool, you've got a little time to work on that. It's still important that you do it, but schedule it. The next one, not important, but urgent. This is something you want to try to delegate. I would say this is a really dangerous category because this is the one that tends to get us. We tend to fill our space with this one because it's usually easy, but it crushes us because it keeps us away from doing the top level ones, the important and urgent. A great example of this, a vendor's asking you to review them right now. Okay, I'm putting some pressure on you. Certainly it's important, but that's something you could ask an assistant to do, right? You don't need to do that. Tell them, hey, they did a great job. Write a nice review for them. You know, cool, you did it. Have somebody else do it for you. And then finally, if it's neither urgent or important, why is it on your list? At best, it's a backlog item, right? If it's an idea, a great example here is researching new equipment that you don't really need. Okay, cool. We're DJ. I'm a DJ. We're DJs. We're gearheads. That happens, right? That's something you want to put on the back burner as much as possible. So all of that to say, if you can do those things, you can be really powerful. I want to give an example. I was doing payroll at one point in my life. I was doing payroll literally at midnight. On Sundays, I was categorizing bookkeeping. I was also answering client texts during family time. It was literally crushing me because I was not staying on top of things. And I did that. I actually had known I didn't need to do that for like 6 months. I really needed to hire an assistant, and I'd known that for 6 months. But because I kept myself in a cycle of doing the urgent tasks, urgent but not important tasks, it was keeping me in that cycle. And you know what the cost was? 6 more months of that. What would have been better is if I would have just ruthlessly prioritized, I need to hire an assistant so this can get done. I just need to do it. It has to be done. This is a higher priority. I'm going to focus my time on that. That would have saved me a lot of pain in my career. I mentioned a second ago, I want to talk about one app that I super, super love. It's called Motion. It will do this for you. Every task you enter into Motion, you will automatically assign it a priority and a deadline. and it syncs with your calendar and automatically populates what the most important next thing for you to be working on. So if you keep it up to date, it tells you. It uses AI, it tells you automatically. So easy, so simple. It even has project development tools in it. It'll do, watching your meetings, recording your meetings, giving you follow-up points, all of the things. Motion is a really, really powerful tool that I really, really enjoy. So check it out to help simplify your prioritization. All right, let's go back to the score. Everybody got their score? Really quick, let's talk about it. So on your score, if you scored a 0 to 6, I want to give you a congrats because you're on the verge of a floor. You're doing really well, right? So if you scored 0 to 6, I want you to pick up 2 to 3 things you learned from this session, start implementing them, and become even more powerful. We want to get that number as low as possible. If you scored 7 to 13, can I just ask honestly how many scored 7 to 13 in the room? Okay, cool. It's not like half of us. That's kind of what I expected, to be honest. I want to say this, and I want you to hear it. So if you hear me say nothing else, tune into this. You deserve to feel the success of being on top of your business and seeing it run very, very well and very successfully. You deserve that feeling. And so my encouragement is, in order to feel that, I want you to pick 3 to 5 things out of this list that we talked about today and start implementing them as quickly as possible. If nothing else, do the daily non-negotiable. That one will crush it. That will move you forward really, really fast. And then finally, if you scored higher than 13, I'm going to guess that you're feeling overwhelmed. You're probably frustrated. You're probably really struggling in life right now with feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, over the top in terms of work. And if that's the case, I'm going to say something kind of counter to what you might think. Learning how to prioritize and learning how to time manage is actually your new highest priority. That needs to be the number one thing in your life right now. If you can do that, it will buy back the time you need to be successful at your job. Guys, thank you so much for having me. I really want to see all of you be as successful as possible. There's a QR code here. It's got several resources there for you, so feel free to jump in, check it out, videos, etc. I appreciate you. My name is Broc Barton. Thank you, guys.